The film begins in 2003 with Mark Zuckerberg and his girlfriend Erica Albright as they sit together in a bar at Harvard University discussing the exclusive final clubs on campus, social groups Mark is obsessed with getting into. During the conversation, Mark speaks to Erica in a condescending tone, claiming that if he were accepted into one of these elite clubs, she would only have the chance to meet important people because of him. Erica, who studies at Boston University, feels deeply insulted by his words. The situation escalates, and the couple ends their relationship in a heated argument. Later that night, Mark returns home intoxicated. In frustration, he writes a harsh and offensive blog post about Erica, publicly insulting her. Shortly after, he begins developing a website that uses photos of Harvard students, collecting their images and basic information without permission. He launches a controversial site called FaceMash, allowing users to compare two female students and vote on who is more attractive. At the same time, an elite Harvard club, known as the Phoenix, is preparing for its first major event at the end of the fall term. Meanwhile, Eduardo Saverin, Mark's close friend and business partner, checks on him after seeing his emotional blog post. Mark becomes interested in using Eduardo's financial data and support to improve and scale the FaceMash website. Eduardo eventually agrees and provides him with the necessary assistance. The website rapidly gains popularity, with Harvard students using it heavily within hours of launch. Soon, Erica learns about the offensive post Mark wrote about her and is devastated by the humiliation. Many female students across campus also feel insulted and objectified by the platform. Eduardo urges Mark to shut the site down due to the overwhelming traffic and potential consequences. Harvard's administration quickly becomes aware of the situation and responds by shutting down the university's internet connection. In 2009, the story shifts to a legal battle where Mark Zuckerberg and Eduardo Saverin are both involved in a lawsuit and questioned during proceedings. The narrative then flashes back to 2003, introducing twins Cameron Winklevoss, Tyler Winklevoss, and Divya Narendra. They become aware of the individual who hacked Harvard's systems to create FaceMash, which had overloaded the university network due to massive traffic. In 2008, the Winklevoss twins officially file a lawsuit against Mark Zuckerberg. Another flashback to 2003 shows Harvard administrators investigating Mark for multiple violations, including hacking into the university system, violating privacy rights, and posting student photos without permission. As a result, Mark is placed on a 6-month disciplinary probation program. Later, Mark meets the Winklevoss twins and attends one of the university's elite clubs with them, where he also encounters Divya Narendra, their close associate. The three approach Mark with an idea for a new website called Harvard Connection. The platform is meant to be an exclusive social network for Harvard students, allowing them to connect and communicate online. They believe they need an experienced programmer to bring the idea to life, and Mark initially agrees to help them. During the 2008 legal proceedings, Mark claims he does not remember exactly what he said during his meetings with the twins and Divya when they approached him for collaboration. He is then questioned about when he first shared the idea of Facebook with Eduardo Saverin, to which he responds that it happened during a party at Harvard in 2003. During that same party, Eduardo informs Mark that he has been selected to join the Phoenix, the elite final club Mark has long been trying to get into. He asks Eduardo to invest $1,000 in the project, offering a 70-30 profit split, with Mark receiving the larger share. He also appoints Eduardo as the chief financial officer of the venture. During the 2008 testimony, Eduardo is asked whether he knew about Mark's agreement with the twins and Divya. He admits that he was aware they had asked Mark to work with them, but Mark refused, claiming it would waste his time. It later becomes clear that Mark misled the twins. He attended their meetings but frequently left early, pretending to be busy or making excuses. This led them to believe he was actively working on Harvard Connection, while in reality, he was developing what would become Facebook. During the legal hearings, the twins and Divya insist that Mark stole their idea, while Mark defends himself, arguing that he never used any of their actual code. In 2004, Mark is approached by a student named Dustin, who asks him for advice about a girl he likes. This moment sparks an idea in Mark's mind: the introduction of a relationship status feature on Facebook, allowing users to indicate whether they are single, in a relationship, or married. Mark believes this feature will enhance social connections and help people find suitable partners, shaping Facebook into the platform he envisions. He then asks Eduardo to provide him with the email list of the Phoenix Club members. Meanwhile, the twins and Divya consult legal counsel, becoming increasingly frustrated and angered, believing their idea has been stolen. During a lecture by Microsoft founder Bill Gates, Eduardo Eduardo meets Christy Willis. Later that night, Mark and Eduardo continue discussing finances and profits. However, Mark remains reluctant to monetize Facebook at this stage, fearing it may damage the platform's image. During their conversation, Eduardo receives an email from the twins regarding intellectual property infringement, which causes him significant anxiety and concern. The 2008 timeline reveals that Mark had deceived the twins and Divya for approximately 6 weeks, despite repeatedly denying any wrongdoing. Back in 2003, Mark and Eduardo attend a nightclub event, spending time with Alice and Christy. There, Mark encounters Erica and attempts to speak with her, but their interaction is tense and hostile due to their previous breakup. Later, Mark decides to expand Facebook beyond Harvard, targeting other universities such as Columbia, and Eduardo agrees to support the expansion. Eduardo suggests expanding the project further by adding Stanford University to Facebook's network. Meanwhile, Divya and the Winklevoss twins discuss the implications of Facebook's rapid expansion, warning that extending the platform beyond Harvard could bring it under federal jurisdiction, potentially creating serious legal complications. They also argue that the expansion violates Harvard's internal rules, which clearly state that students are not allowed to steal intellectual property from one another. As tensions rise, the twins and Divya decide to meet with the president of Harvard to present their complaint. At the same time, a California-based entrepreneur named Sean Parker begins communicating with them via email. He is immediately impressed by Facebook and its potential. The twins meet with the Harvard president, but he refuses to intervene in their intellectual property dispute. He advises them to move on and pursue other opportunities, making it clear that they will receive no special treatment due to their status. Around this time, Eduardo travels with Mark to New York City during spring break for a series of business meetings. Eduardo approaches these meetings with seriousness and caution, while Mark appears less disciplined. Despite his excitement about a key meeting with Sean Parker, Eduardo becomes increasingly uneasy about Sean Parker and is reluctant to work with him due to his controversial reputation and lack of trustworthiness. During the 2008 investigation, Eduardo recalls Sean discussing his past ventures, including a music company that eventually went bankrupt. Sean also supports Mark's decision to not distribute profits from Facebook, which further raises Eduardo's concerns. Sean emphasizes that the company has the potential to become worth billions and expresses his desire to relocate Mark to California to further develop Facebook. Before leaving, he advises them to drop "the" from the name, simplifying it to just Facebook. During the hearings, it is revealed that in 2004, the profit distribution was set at 65% for Mark, 30% for Eduardo, and 5% for Dustin.
Eduardo is then questioned about his actual contribution to the company. He becomes visibly uncomfortable and recalls an earlier incident involving the Phoenix Club, where he was asked to take care of a live chicken, an event that later led to accusations of animal cruelty within Harvard. It is clarified that Mark never intended for that incident to negatively affect their business. In the early stages, Mark had been in need of funding, and Eduardo agreed to finance the project. However, disagreements soon arose over how the money should be used. Mark wanted to hire new employees, expand the team, and even purchase a house in California, while Eduardo insisted the funds should be used to improve servers and infrastructure. Eduardo meets a group of students, while Mark oversees the competition, where he is later selected as a mentor. Eduardo informs Mark that he has opened a bank account containing $18,000 to support the project. A student finishes the competition and congratulates Mark on the success and rapid growth of Facebook. However, in reality, Mark and his team are seen celebrating in California. During this time, Mark discovers that Sean Parker lives directly across from them after an incident involving a snapped rope during a water activity, which leads Sean to check on them personally. Sean notices that Eduardo is not present, and later, during a night out at a club, he speaks with Mark about expanding Facebook globally, suggesting that the platform should grow across continents. Mark realizes that Sean has no place to stay, so he offers him a room in his home with the team. Meanwhile, the Winklevoss twins lose a rowing competition and become increasingly frustrated. Their anger intensifies when they discover that Facebook has expanded to Cambridge, Oxford, and the London School of Economics. They decide to file a federal lawsuit against Mark Zuckerberg. Back in California, Sean is on a phone call when Eduardo arrives, completely soaked from the rain after Mark failed to pick him up from the airport an hour earlier as he had been exhausted from working working non-stop. Eduardo also discovers that Sean has arranged a meeting with a man named Peter, which deeply unsettles him. Eduardo confronts Mark privately. He reveals that he has canceled his summer internship at O'Reilly and that his relationship with his girlfriend Christy has become increasingly unstable and strained. Mark urges Eduardo to adapt and relocate to California, warning him that if he refuses, their partnership may not survive. Emotionally overwhelmed, Eduardo makes the decision to freeze Facebook's bank account. The meeting with Peter concludes successfully, and Sean secures a $500,000 investment in Facebook. Eduardo sits alone in his apartment, where Christy arrives, and another heated argument breaks out. Shortly after, Mark calls him angrily, furious about the frozen account, claiming it has severely damaged the company. Mark insists that Facebook is not just another website and cannot be allowed to fail. In a moment of emotional instability, Christy sets fire to Eduardo's apartment. Panicking, he extinguishes the flames with a fire extinguisher while still on the phone with Mark, who is listening in shock. Eduardo later tells Mark that the act was only meant to get his attention. Mark informs him about Peter's investment and urges him to fly to San Francisco immediately. Eduardo agrees and travels there, where he meets the company's lawyers and signs several documents, increasing his ownership share to 34%. However, during the 2008 investigation, it becomes clear that Eduardo did not fully understand that he was signing away significant control over his rights in the company. Mark also informs him that he will not be returning to college and asks him to attend the end-of-year celebration when Facebook reaches 1 million users. At the end of the year, Eduardo receives a message from Mark about the upcoming celebration and a critical business meeting, especially after Sean begins forming independent investment partnerships. Eduardo visits Facebook's new headquarters in California, only to be shocked when he discovers that his ownership has been reduced to just 3%. Feeling betrayed, he confronts Mark in anger and declares that he will fight to reclaim his rights. After he leaves, Sean and Mark celebrate Facebook reaching 1 million users. During the celebration, Sean spends time with interns and discusses Facebook, but the situation quickly spirals into reckless behavior involving drugs and disorder, ultimately leading to police intervention due to an underage intern being present. In the end, Mark realizes that Sean cannot be trusted. In the present timeline, Mark meets with his lawyer, who warns him that the case will likely end in a settlement. She explains that he may be forced to pay a significant amount, as the jury may not rule in his favor due to his past behavior. After she leaves, Mark sits alone and sends a friend request to Erica, repeatedly refreshing the page as he waits for a response that never comes. Ultimately, the Winklevoss twins receive a settlement of $65 million in exchange for dropping the lawsuit and signing a non-disclosure agreement. Eduardo also receives a separate settlement and is officially recognized as one of Facebook's co-founders. Facebook continues to grow at an unprecedented rate, and Mark Zuckerberg becomes the youngest billionaire in the world.